I've always said that if you could bottle that feeling of being a winning owner, standing in the winner's circle as your horse comes back after winning the race to take a picture that will last a lifetime, you'd be a gazillionaire. There is nothing like that feeling in the world, but it's also one of the toughest things to experience. So picture this. Imagine being a lifelong racing fan, eventually transitioning into horse ownership, and then having one of your horses compete in the Kentucky Derby. Are you kidding me? Well, today's guest got to experience that once in a lifetime moment, and we're going to talk about that and so much more today. Hello, everyone. My name is Frank Scatoni. Welcome to the final summer edition of Best Bet. As I say every week, this is not your traditional selection show. We are not going to talk about every race. We are just going to look at specific races and wagering strategies that offer the best opportunities to make a decent score. If you're watching live, feel free to leave us a comment or ask us any questions. The show will also be archived on Del Mar's Twitter, Facebook, and YouTube platforms, so you can go back and watch that as well. Back to today's guest. He is a successful owner, breeder, and horse player, and I'm so glad to talk to him today. Please welcome Victor Flores. Victor, what's good?
Good morning. How are you?
I'm doing great. First off, thank you so much for joining us. I know you've been down to Del Mar a few times this summer to see your horses run. I know we've missed seeing each other in the paddock, so I'm really glad that we can connect here. Before we get into the nitty-gritty of handicapping and wagering and all that stuff, you have to tell us, one, how you got hooked on racing, and two, how you decided to actually take the plunge and start being a horse owner.
So early on, when I was a kid, like maybe 10, my dad, my brothers, we'd go to Santa Anita. And back then, a lot of people don't remember, you couldn't get in. I mean, it wasn't like now, you couldn't get in. You'd have to pay to go to the track. And then the last two races, right about 5 minutes before the eighth race, which was the feature race, usually, right, they'd open the gate. You can go into the clubhouse and you can bet. I'd bet my $2 on it. My dad would do it for me on the eighth and ninth race. We did that growing up. I learned how to rate racing for me before when I was like 10 years old. It was crazy, right? I've seen the evolution of that to what now like the formulator. So it's
yeah.
Back when we used to go, I would sell bottles to get enough money to make a bet, to make a wager, and sit there and hopefully I could hit something. Just back then it was basic. There wasn't a lot of the same types of wagers today. Win, bet, exacta, pretty much right there. And so when I was young, we would go all the time. I just loved it. And I just loved it. And so as I grew older and, I started working. I was able to, my wife, we've been married 36 years. We kind of been together and we've had good fortune through the opportunities. So we were able to build some a couple businesses, and we worked hard. Nice. And then right around 1997, 1998, I met a guy named Jeff Ganji. He's still racing right now. Yeah. He's pretty good. He's still hanging around. In fact, we raced against each other Friday. And he introduced me. He was on the internet at the time, and I bought a piece of a horse called Baroness Kenmare. First horse I ever bought. I owned like an eighth, and met Jeff Bondi through Jeff Ganji. Jeff Bondi at the time was primarily up north at Golden Gate, and Bay Meadows was still around. Bay Meadows was still around, and I met them, and I just started with one horse, with a piece of one horse, and just kept moving forward. Buy a little bit more. We were able to Patricia and I, because at first she was like, "What are you doing? Are you crazy?" But she knew I loved it. She knew since the day we were together and we got married, she knew I loved this, right? And she used to roll her eyes at me back then. She doesn't do that anymore. But so we would, so when I hooked up with Jeff, we got to know Jeff pretty good, and we kept purchasing more. He got me with some partners like Rusty Brown,
yes, Rusty.
Angelo Farrow, those guys, they had been in his barn for a long time. I was the newbie in there, and I was kind of like, trying to learn from everybody. I met all these really cool people through Jeff Ganji and Jeff Bondi. So they brought me in, and I started racing with Jeff. Probably the first 10 years I raced with Jeff primarily. I like Jeff. He's a good guy. He knows 2-year-olds like nobody's business.
He's the best. He's the best.
And so as it evolved, it was a 2010 Barrett sale here at Fairplex, nearby where my business is and my home. I went there, I said, you know, we're going to buy some horses. At this point, we were starting to invest a lot more. And there was a horse there, came in the ring, and he was the horse at the time was Twice the Peel. And he says, what do you think about that horse? And, you know, I said, well, let's, you know, try to get it. He would call it like the Bud Long Shot. That's what Jeff would call, like, this is the Bud Long
I remember they used to do that segment on TV, the Bud Long Shot.
This is the Bud Long Shot, Vic. So we ended up getting the horse for $35,000. He looked at me and he said, you want some partners? And I'm like, however you want to do it. And he goes, there's this guy, Rusty Brown. You want to be with Rusty. Rusty, everybody knows Rusty, right? And then another friend of mine, Henry Hernandez, I called him and said, we spot a horse, send me a check. I got to pay, you know, I got to pay for the horse. So that was our big horse with Jeff at the time. It was a Twice the Peel. That horse went like 0 for 8, so 0 for 7. You could have claimed that horse at Santa Anita when he first got here, because he was primarily in Golden Gate first 7 races, just couldn't figure it out. Comes to Santa Anita, Garrett Gomez rides him one day as a claiming 32. He wins like 5 lengths. We're like sitting there going, that was odd. Of course we were, you know, happy. He goes to Starter Allowance. Espinoza rides him, does it again. He wins by 3-4 lengths. Like, okay, maybe we got something. Maybe he figured it out.
Right, then, the light bulb. Sometimes the light bulb just goes on. It takes him a while to, you know, figure, hey, I'm actually a racehorse. I need to win.
And he figured it out. Then at that point, it was right at the end of the year, early part of January. It wasn't really a lot of places to go with him. So we went to Arizona and ran in the Turf Paradise Derby. And we thought, what the heck? I think the purse was $75,000, which back then, well, it wasn't a lot, but it was another stepping stone. We never thought we were going to the Derby at that point. He runs second. He gets DQ'd. No big deal. So then at the time, Jeff's thinking, well, maybe we take a shot in the Sunland Derby. We're already halfway to Arizona. He says, maybe we just go to the Sunland Derby. I think at the time it was $800,000. And so we said, I mean, he called me and said, ask Rusty what he thinks about this. So I called Rusty. I said, yeah, you want to go to Sunland Derby for $800,000? And Rusty's he's a good partner. Let me tell you, he's a great partner to be with. And he's like, whatever you think, Vic, if you think, then let's give it a shot. And so we did it because, you know, it costs money to get the horse over there and set him up.
Of course.
And then my other partner, Henry, he's like, hey, whatever, you know, because he was the minority owner, like, whatever you guys say, let's go. We go there. The horse wins. Shocking. You know, I mean, it was, did we think he was going to win that day? He was 25.5 to 1.
Wow.
I mean, we all made wagers on him. So we came out of there with pockets full of money. You know, we got a lot of money to win on him only because he was our horse. And it was amazing that day because he wins by almost 2 lengths going away. We couldn't even get a jockey from down here to ride him over there. Nobody wanted to go to New Mexico in March to ride. You know, we asked a lot of people and they kind of looked at us like, you must be crazy.
This horse was just running for 32 and now he's going to run in the Sunland Derby.
And so Santiago Reyes rides him for us and he wins. And the first thing we were sitting there, Rusty, my friend Henry Hernandez, and we were shocked. You know, I was hugging my wife. I said, the first thought that come to my mind wasn't the money that we were going to get for the purse. It was like, we're going to go to the Derby. That's the first thing I said. I remember hugging Rusty, like, we're going to the Derby. And it was amazing. I still get goosebumps about that day. And Jeff,
it's every owner's dream. I mean, 20 horses out of, I don't know, how big is a full drop? 20,000? Only 20 horses make it to the first set. Multiple accomplishment.
We were on cloud 9 that day. We were just like ecstatic. We were just like for a while numb. And you know, you do the interviews and you just can't believe that we're going to the Derby. When I was a kid, I used to watch the Derby on Channel 7. I remember Affirmed and Alidar and Seattle Slew. I remember all these horses, you know, running when I was younger. So I was like, we're going to the Derby. This is crazy. We went out and had a good time that night, you know, with all of us. And I don't even think Patricia and I slept that night. I think we finally dozed off maybe 4 a.m.
Yeah.
And we woke up like maybe 2 hours later because we had to come home, and it was just great. We were amazed. It was amazing.
You pinched yourself and said, was that a dream? Am I dreaming?
We went to one of our favorite restaurants. They had champagne for us, and my girls, I don't know if my girls got quite the magnitude of it at the time. They were much younger, and they were like, yeah, you want another race? And they're like, no, we're going to the Derby, you know? And so it was just, and that whole time from that end of March to the early part of May, we were just on high every day. I mean, it was just like, it was like being in another honeymoon with my wife again for that time span. It was just so great. You're just,
And
everybody's wanting to talk with you. People that never knew who we were, and they want to do interviews, and they want to know who you are. And like right now, right? And it was great. It was a great, and that was Patricia and myself's our 25th anniversary of being married. So it all kind of collided. It was just a great time of life for us at the time. It was great.
I love that story because you really started off. I mean, you had a scrape and claw to get your first horse, and you had a tiny little piece of it, and then all of a sudden that just blossomed into, hey, a couple of years, or what it was, 10 years later, 15, whatever it was.
About 14 years later, yeah. I had to scrape and claw to make my first wager when I was like 10 years old, right? And so we did this here, and then it was just like this. I couldn't believe it that we were fortunate to have the opportunity to be with Jeff at Bonnie at the time, and everything has to align. You could have the best horse, like Uncle Mo was in that race in the Derby. He was probably the best horse that week. Everybody knew it.
Sure, yeah.
But he wasn't able to start. Animal Kingdom ended up winning the race. We ran 10th. But I remember to this day bringing my wife and my 3 girls across for the walkover and walking in with that horse and Rusty Brown and my partner, his wife, his partner. And we were sitting there going, how did we get here?
Right.
And you walk in, and if you've ever done that, and you walk in and you see all the people just stacked on each other, and you're walking in there, and it was amazing. I still dream about to this day. It was just amazing. My girls are just like, they couldn't, like, how did we get here, Dad? And, so we were lucky, opportunities, fortune, and you got to have a lot of good luck. I wish we could bottle that.
Yeah, no, I want to talk a little bit about that because, I know recently there was a feature article about you and your wife, Patricia, in the California Thoroughbred magazine. I thought it was a terrific story, really well done. Anybody out there, go to ctba.com, read the article. Terrific story. But there were a couple of things that stood out to me. First off, you had to make some pretty bold moves and some tough decisions to get where you are today. And you did that at a young age. I was very fascinated by that part of the story. And then right off the bat, that tells me that you're not afraid to bet on yourself. If you believe in something, you're going to go out and you're going to try and get it done. So that kind of confidence is so important when it comes to horse racing. I know you say, yes, everybody needs a little bit of luck along the way, but you also need that confidence and determination to actually accomplish what you set out to do.
So my background is we were fortunate enough to have the opportunity to be part of an aerospace company. It's at the highest level of expertise and technology, and we were fortunate, and we built that business up with 2 partners that gave me tremendous opportunity. That's how we were able to continue on. And then as we went on, we started to do the horses. And so I'm gonna tell you a little story. We just recently purchased a restaurant, and everybody's looking at us like, Vic, you're gonna be 60. They know who I am. They know I have my business down the street. We've got 110 employees, been around for almost 40 years. And it takes a lot of my time. And then, like, you race horses and you love that. Patricia and I love it. We love the environment, the people.
Yep.
And they know I love to trade the stock market. People know I get up 4:30, 4:45 every morning. I love to trade. It's almost the same action as the races.
Sure.
And so you got to do your homework, but I'm up early. And then they said, now you're buying a restaurant. Are you crazy? And I'm like, well, I have to have a reason to get out of bed every day for sure. Right. And then I said, and I tell this to the people at the track, and I go, hey, but if you own horses, you can own anything, man, because having horses is a tough deal.
It's the toughest.
It's tough, right? Do we do it for the money? My accountant, one of them got fired because he asked me, what are you doing? So we got another accountant that understood what we were trying. I go, sure. We don't do it for the money. We do it because we love it. We love everything. We love the competitiveness. We love when you win and you end up in the winner's circle, even at any level. It's great, right? And then so they're like, you're buying a restaurant. You don't have experience. I'm like, well, we run horses, and so we're going to give it a shot. And they go, you're 60. You should be retired. I'm like, I don't ever believe I'll retire. I just have to have a reason to get out of bed every day. And with that on top, we just sold our house and bought another one. So they're like, you're crazy. And I was like, no, I think Patricia and I get energized by the challenges.
Sure, absolutely.
And I think it keeps us going. I got 3 daughters, 4 grandchildren, and my days are full. Like when we're finished today, I've got people down at the restaurant doing contract work for me. I've got to go up there waiting for me. And so it's exciting. I like everything about life. I do. I really do.
I love it. Yeah, the story was so inspirational. So I encourage everybody to go to ctba.com, read it. So speaking about horse ownership, I want to pivot a little bit into handicapping. So I've had some small pieces in horses in the past. I dipped my toe in the ownership game, but I've always left all the decisions up to the trainers. Claiming a horse, entering a race, that's what they do. I think I'm a pretty good handicapper. But reading the condition book, spotting untapped potential, understanding what a good horse investment is, assessing horse flesh, like that's a completely different skill set. And I know that's not where my strengths lie. You seem to have done really well with both of them. So I want to ask you, A, did your knowledge of handicapping help inform some of your ownership decisions? And then B, on the flip side of that, has what you've experienced on the owner side helps you become a better handicapper?
I would say the first part, no. To this day, I've told people like Terry, everybody knows Terry Lovinger. He's a great friend and a partner of ours. He's taught me many things about a lot of, especially the Calbred and the breeding. Patricia and I breed. And I always ask him when we're at the track, so, Terry, which one looks the best? And he'll tell me like that one right there. I'm like, so what makes it? And he'll give me all these reasons, right? And I'm like, I can't see it. And also Tom from Santa Anita.
Yeah, Tom Quigley.
I said, Tom, you sitting there.
Great eye.
And he goes, spend a day with me and I'll teach you. But how long you been racing? I've been racing like over 20 plus years, 25 years. I go, but I couldn't tell you a good one from the bad one. To me, they're all good, right? So typically what we do is we go ahead and we invest the money and then I rely on the trainers, and we've had good trainers to give us good I don't get in their business. So, what everybody knows right now, one of our top trainers, Steve Miotti. I love Steve, man. My in the money percentage with Steve is something north of 80%. It's unbelievable. Oh. When I show people, they go prove it. And I show them, they go, oh my God, that's crazy. In the money. So typically when we run, we feel we're going to get a check, and we need checks to keep going. So we're not taking out of the general home fund. Right. And so with the guy like Steve, he's a professional. He knows how to pick. He picks Smoke 'em Easy for us. He knows what to do. He don't need us telling him anything. I don't like whoever he wants to. It's his call, 1,000%. We show up race day. We talk a little bit. We talk a lot actually, and I pretty much leave it to the trainers. That's their expertise, and I feel like it's kind of like a sports franchise. If you hire a coach to do the deal, you don't tell him who to play quarterback.
Let him do his job.
And I think they respect that, and I think they really like that. So I give them their space. I don't get into that. I don't. I've got 4 trainers right now: Steve Miotti, Ryan Hansen, Val Brinkerhoff, and actually we're going to add Steve Knapp to the fold. Patricia and I have met him. We like him a lot. We just like Eric. He's a good guy. He's always up. He's laughing. He's fun. So we're gonna go to the sale here in another 3 weeks, and I've told them all I want to have some horses with Steve Knapp. And so, but I think you let the trainers do their job. They have enough going on. I've been over there. We've been at Delmar every weekend. We go to the stable. I see what's going on. It's craziness. It's controlled chaos over there.
Oh, I know. It's you go to the mornings.
It's crazy.
I don't know how they
Terry walk that thing when we go there. We come out like, man, it's a production like any other business. Yeah, I let them do their stuff.
I agree 100%. I think that's the right attitude to take. And when you have partners, like you said, like Rusty Brown, like this, when you have good partners who have the same mindset as you, that's when it becomes so much fun, because you just let the trainer do what the trainer wants to do and take it from there. So you mentioned another name, Terry Lovinger, who is, talk about a guy who has helped prop the California racing industry for years. I think what Terry has done is amazing. I have so much respect for what he's done for California racing and the business that he's built and the horses that he's bred and campaigned, etc. Talk about how you sort of like you like a challenge. The breeding side of the business is a whole other operation that I know very little about. What did you decide to get involved in that? When
Twice the Peel retired, we needed a place for him to go. Somebody introduced me to Terry Lovinger. I didn't know Terry at the time. I'd see him around. I thought he was a serious guy. I'd see him all there. He's always serious when he was doing his business. And so when Twice ended up over there, we got to know each other better. And as we went on, he knew that Patricia and I really liked this game. And so he started to, he said, hey, you interested in breeding or racing? We're interested in all of it. And so he brought us into his fold and got us with all the different partners that he's got, all good people.
Yep.
So good people. I can tell you, I could have so many people that I can reel off right now that we've met through Terry. So he's trying to taught me the value of the Calbred program. So you need that revenue to come in, keep you going, and that program is perfect. So we changed our tactics about maybe 10, 11 years ago with Terry. We started to breed more over there. I've got 3 mares over there. I'm still part of Smoke'em, who we raced. Terry and I raced together, and then we now are breeding Smoke'em. And so he taught us. He just taught us every facet of California breeding, and he wants to bring people more into the game to keep this going. He's so passionate about this game. He's trying to get everybody involved at whatever certain level piece you could be. He puts us all together. And so we've got many partnerships that he has created within. And one thing about that group, Terry's group, is that win, lose, or draw on race day, we have a good time. We walk out of there. We walk out of there having it. People know, like, you guys, I've had people come up to say, you guys sure have a good time when we come and we have a good time. And that's what he's developed over the years with, like, we own a horse called Tom's Regret, Tom Beckerly, Gene Zonleo, Saul Carrillo, Todd Sheehan. I met all these guys through Terry. Good people, fun guys, And Amanda Navarro, she's part of the group, man. She's introduced us to so many people. And so we kind of feel special to be part of that group because we have a good time. We race a lot. Somebody's always gotten something racing, and we support each other. We'll always go down. I meet people in the paddock. Who you racing today? I'm like, no, man, I'm here for over here. And they're like, so we stay together as a pretty good group. And there's probably about a good 25 of us. So it's a good group.
What an experience.
He teaches us all. We're getting ready for the sale here in about 3-4 weeks, and he's getting us ready, and he's got partnerships getting ready for all of us. And we listen to him because he knows what he's talking about. It doesn't always work out, and that's cool. But
that's
Terry,
racing, that's any business, really.
Terry will always try to make it right. He goes, that one didn't go too good. Let me help. And he does. He always makes it right. He's taught us so much, Patricia and I. He's a good friend.
Victor, this conversation reminds me when we first met in the Andy Logan room up at Santa Anita. And I said to you after we talked for about an hour, I said, I could talk to you all night. Like, we all had to go to dinner or whatever. And I'm looking at the clock here. We talked for 22 minutes, and I could keep going.
You can come to my restaurant, and we could talk for 2 hours. I'll take care of it for you, all right?
I'll take you up on that offer. I love it. But we got to get to some of the races here. We got to give out some winners. So I know you and I talked before the show started that, when you look at the card, you like to work from back to front to see where the opportunities are later in the card. Because typically, and this is true of any racetrack, that's usually where the bigger field sizes, more competitive races, and more often than not, that's kind of where you can find value. So I know you want to start off in race 11 because this is kind of your key play of the day. And everything that we talk about here, everything leads to this last race, and we'll work backwards and let the audience know how you're going to play the late pick 4 and the late double, etc. But let's talk about your key race. It's race 11. It's a maiden special weight contested at 1 mile on the turf. The morning line favorite is number 3 Petkoff at 7-2. He makes the second start of his form cycle, stretches out with an apprentice in the iron, so he gets that 7-pound weight break, which is pretty important in maiden races, especially going 2 turns. He finished up really nicely last time, acting like a horse who would enjoy 2 turns coming out of that sprint race. So he definitely figures, and he's one of the contenders, but it looks like you have some other opinions here too.
I like the 6 Quintessence. You had to help me with that name this morning. I like that horse. I think second off the layoff, I went back to the 3 prior races when he ran a mile on the turf at Del Mar and Santa Anita. Those were all formidable races. I saw one. I'm a buyer's follower. I just think that shows a good level of consistency. And I looked back at those 3 races where he lost 3 races by 3 races combined by maybe no more than 2 lengths combined. He was always bet on. He was always wagered on. He comes back after a lap. He does a 5 furlong, which I don't really think that's his gig, but that was his return race. It was okay. Vasquez stays on. I like the combination of the trainer and the jock. I think that's a good combo. I think he's got a little bit of early speed in here where he doesn't necessarily have to get the lead, but he can kind of get close. He's my best bet. I like him, and I also like the favorite. I'm going to box those two in a $50 exacta box. I like the 6, so that's going to be my big bet of the day, and I might even play more than I told you I was because I'm liking him more.
That's why I didn't put any numbers down there. So
I woke up in the morning,
quadruple the bet
on that horse. Yeah, and then
I'm sorry. I was going to say you gave me props for saying quintessence. I did Pete Fornatel's podcast yesterday, analyzing the pick 6 mandatory payout today, and when I talked about this race because this was a horse that I also really liked. I was saying quintessence because that's how it looks. But Pete said quintessence,
right.
which is a real word, but it's spelled differently. So I think Pete's probably right. So I'll give him credit for the pronunciation. But I agree with you.
Number 6. That's what I was going to call him. Number 6.
Yeah, exactly. Right.
But I like that horse a lot. That's my best bet. I'm going to probably end up going more. I did wake up in the morning and I thought, you know what? So I added the 8 and 9 in there, but I'm staying with my core, which is the 6 over the 3 over the 8 and 9. But I like the 6. That's where I like.
Yeah, that's where most of your action is going through the 6.
Yeah.
I agree with you. I thought last time was just a prep race.
Yeah. Coming
off a layoff in a sprint. If you look at this horse's form from last year, all of his best races have come going 2 turns. So
yeah,
I thought 8 to 1. I mean, if you get 8 to 1 on this horse, that's a juicy price. So I love that. And so just talk to us a little bit about that kind of approach, trying to find a key horse who is going to be value and kind of build your day around.
So you're always trying to drill down for the long shot, something that's because what's good about racing is the guy next to you believe 100%. Guy next to you, and we're all on this different pages, but trying to accomplish the same thing, and that's what makes the sport, right? So yeah. I'm always. I mean, I get the favorite, I get the percentages, the numbers, but I always trying to drill down, looking for that, and like with that horse, I threw that last race out, and I went 3 deep behind it, and I said, there you go, I love that right there. So that's what caught my eye, drilling down for some value in this race. I do like the favorite, but I like the 6 better.
Yeah, so 6 at 8 to 1 morning line. That's the key play of the day. And like I said, we'll work backwards a little bit. Yeah. So that's the main focus, the win bet, the exacta box with the 3-6. And you also said maybe you'll use the 8-9 in some combination.
Maybe in the super.
Yeah. Okay. All right. Well, let's walk back because I know you also want to play a double. Let's look at race 10.
I didn't see a lot of value in the 10th because Baffert's got that 1 in there, and doggone it, his last bar is 103. He did phenomenal. He did nothing wrong. Pratt's going to ride. So right there, you're up against it. You're going to have to try to beat him. I didn't see – I said, let me find something that maybe – I came up with a 5. I thought he had enough speed maybe, and he's improving, that maybe he can get the lead and just forget about stopping. That's the only horse that I saw that maybe has a chance. Otherwise, I got to go with the 1, which I don't really like that. So I did a $50 double. Those 2 to the 3 and the 6, trying to make some value out of that and trying to, at least even if the 1 wins – if I have a $50 double and my horse wins, and even if it doesn't go off at 8 or 6 to 1, maybe the DD will pay good.
Yeah, well, that's one of the reasons why I happen to love the double. That's one of my favorite bets because you can actually look at the probable payoffs and kind of see what you might get if your combos come in. So you can even adjust your wagering accordingly. If you look at the 1-6 combo and it's not good value, you might decide to pass that race and just look to bet the horse, or bet Rothschild to quintessence, or just save your money for a bigger win bet in the last race. So that's why I love the double, because information is power, right? The more info you have to go to the windows with, the better you're going to be in the long run as a gambler. So this was race 10. It's the Del Mar Futurity. It's a grade 1. It's the marquee meet for 2-year-olds. As Victor mentioned, Baffert has number 1 Prince of Monaco. Was very, very impressive last time. But he did have a favorable post on a good part of the track. Now he's got a break from the rail at 7 furlongs. So, he's going to have to really show that last race was no fluke, and he probably will. But I like the idea of you having another horse in the race in case Prince of Monaco doesn't win. And then if you have the winner going live to your second horse in the double, that's going to pay real good.
Yeah. That one's gonna have to do something really bad to lose. I think it's not good for the value, but I'm being realistic about that race.
Sure.
Yeah.
Yeah, well, the key to your day is really the nightcap. So,
Yeah,
you know, you want to try to get alive to your horse in the double, and you'll know what the probables are, so you can adjust your wagers accordingly. And the best feeling in the world is when you're alive to your key horse. It doesn't matter whether it's the double, pick 3, pick 4, whatever. That's just a great feeling. Okay, I got there. I got to my race with my horse. So let's go back 2 races. We don't have to get into detail about race 8 and race 9, but I know you like to play multi-race wagers.
I love
double, pick 4, pick 5, right?
Yes, I love the pick 4. That's my key bet. And then from there, I go backwards and do my pick 3 and double, so that if you get on a roll and your combinations start working, it's a good payout. I was telling you a couple weeks ago, I went out, we did my bets, and I went out and came home and saw my account is like $2,800. I hit the pick 4 2 times. I didn't even realize it until I got home. I was out farting around doing business probably, or having dinner. I don't know. Came home, I won 28. She goes, "What did you win?" I'm like, "I don't know. Let me see." It was pick 4. I love that bet. It's just
that's a nice feeling, right? When you come
home
and you look at your account and all of a sudden it's up $3,000.
Yeah. So I was like, that was cool, you know. But and so yeah, I like to pick 4. And starting in the pick 4, did you want to go to the 9th or did you want to go to the 8th?
Let's go to the 8th. We'll just
tough races, man. Those 2 races.
Tough.
Those 2 combinations, they're the way they wrote the race almost identical except for the distance, and of course one's on the grass. But I just kept going over those races. Those were tough races. What I came up in the 9th, and I don't really like a win. I said I'm going to spread this, and I'm going to put 2, 4, 6, 7. I thought the race had a lot of speed in there, so I was looking for something to come off the. And I think that Barsaba's that horse likes Del Mar. He's going to be closing. He's been, his if you look at his placings, they're not that great. But if you look at the last 2, he's only lost the last race by 3/4. The one before that by a length 3/4. I got him as a late threat. He's not my pick to win, but I hope he does at the odds to help my pick 4. Definitely.
He was one that I came up with too. I mean, like you said, it's going to be a pretty quick pace, and this horse has always shown a little bit of an ability to finish. And to your point, those last 2 races were both at 5 furlongs on the turf, and they were probably the best races he's run in a while. So maybe this is what this horse has wanted to do all along. So I love that too. When I talked to Pete yesterday about the pick 6, I said, man, this horse is going to be on all my tickets, and if I can catch a 20-1 shot in the sequence morning line, I'm looking pretty good. I'm feeling.
I don't know about the favorite, because the favorite's coming back after being off since last June.
Long time.
My big thing is what I'm saying. Is he ready? The work say yes. The motto is something else. He's trained for us in the past. I like him. He's a good guy. I'm just saying, man, is he that good? Maybe, but I'd like to try to beat him with like Barspus. I like that horse. And then I threw the 2, 4, 6, 7 in to see if they can get my pick 4 going.
Okay, so that was leg 2 of the pick 4. Let's go back to the opener of the pick 4, leg 1 in race 8. You have a couple of horses in there. Talk to us about that race.
I went with the 4, 5, 8. Again, I looked at this East Side Cool, who's coming in from Churchill Downs. 62.5. He got claimed. Kristen Mulhall, she's pretty good off the claim. I think 36%, and also on the first time blinker, she's 25%. So here again, I'm searching for some value. Horse didn't run bad for 62.5. Got beat by couple lengths back. I think the workout, especially that workout on the 23rd, best of the morning, 47. I'm like, you know what? This horse, and put the blinker. I said, this horse kind of scares me. And there again, I'm not doing a win ticket, but I do like that horse. Then I put the 5 in there, who was claimed 1 back. Steve Knapp. I love Steve Knapp.
He's so good off the claim too.
He's sneaky good, man. And so I said,
but he claimed off Baffert, so that's always tricky too.
And look, that horse originally back when was a $500,000 purchase. I know it didn't pan out, but. And then, so he's coming off the claim, and the horse is consistent. So I'm like, I got to throw him in there. I don't want Steve to beat me, or I'll have to give him some crap when I see him. Right. And then I like the 8. I don't know how to, you're going to have to help me with it, how to say that.
Gasly. I'm not really sure myself. We'll hear what Trevor says. But.
That's my long shot, right? Look, the last race was a grade 3, a mile and a half. So right there, okay, I'm looking at that race. That's a tough deal. The one back was a mile and an 1/8. It's a starter allowance, but it's turf, mile and 1/8. So I went back 3 and I said, look at what he did on the mile. It's an optional claiming 50 that day. He wins by 2. He threw an 87 bar. So I said, you know what? I'm going to throw those last 2 races out. Actually, this jockey rode for us Friday, and I think he tried hard. I think he's tried hard.
He does try hard.
This horse was an original sale at $1,050,000. you know, and that caught my eye. So I said, you know what? Let me see if there's some lightning in the bottle. I threw them in there because I just thought the last 2 races, throw them out, look through that. And it was a really confusing race for me. It really was. That's why I don't have I'm trying to get the pick 4, and it was really confusing. So I didn't say, well, I want to bet this horse to win. Usually I try to do that. I don't want to do that. I'm just going to put him in my pick 4 and cross my fingers.
Yeah, and if you can get to that last leg with your strongest opinion, then you're in pretty good shape.
And
yeah,
right?
Those are the 3 horses.
Huh? The last race is at Del Mar, so we're going to close the meet here, and I'm like, maybe we can get some, you know, get some excitement and get some big payers, and you know, close the meet out with a bang. So
that's it.
That's those that 8th and 9th were tough for me, super tough. I spent probably an hour and a half just on those 2 races, going over it and over it.
I agree with you, but you know, we came up with a lot of the same horses in that sequence. Eastside Cool was also my top pick in race 8. We talked about Barsabas as a wise guy play in race 9. I'm with you with the 1 and the 5 in leg 3 in the Del Mar Futurity. And Quintessence, I mean, 8-1 morning line. That horse, I don't think we'll get 8-1, but for the purposes of the pick 4,
yeah,
it's great because a lot of people play their tickets based off the morning lines. You know, they get a little conservative. They'll throw in the 2-1, the 5-2, the 3-1. Once you start getting 8-1, a lot of people just tend to ignore that for their pick 4 or pick 5 tickets. So that horse will be great value in the pick 4. I love it. That's the ticket. You can see it on the screen. Once we wrap up, I'll blast this out again on my Twitter feed so people can go back and watch it if they missed anything. That wraps up the final best bet of the Del Mar Summer Meet. It's been an awesome meet. Hats off to the racing office. We've had such good, competitive, big fields with lots of really, really juicy payouts. Let's see if we can keep it going today. I'll be back in the fall. Thank you so much to Victor Flores. Victor, I had a great time talking about you. And like I said, I feel like we could talk for hours.
We will.
I like it. All right, I'm going to hold you to that. Thanks, everyone, for watching. I really appreciate it. As I always like to say, good luck to us, and let's make some money. See everybody at the races.
Take care. Have a good day.
Thanks, Victor.